In this video, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the EarthCube Research Coordination Network project titled Determining Best Practices for Preservation and Replicability of Model Data. I'm Doug Schuster. I'm one of the co-Is on the project from the National Center for Atmospheric Research. The other co-I from NCAR is Matt Marinick, and the lead PI on the project is Dr. Gretchen Mullendorf from the University of North Dakota. So in terms of the motivation for the project, researchers have been facing an evolving landscape of open data access expectations from funders and publishers. So now researchers need to publish data typically to a Fairline repository in order to publish research to a peer-reviewed publication. Unfortunately, some of the requirements for simulation output have not been clear and tend to differ between the various entities. So our project is really to look at that problem of what to do about model data. In the past, the answer might have been to preserve everything. Now with the volumes that are being produced by simulations, that's really not sustainable. So now we know the answer is not to preserve all of the data output from a simulation experiment typically. It's too expensive due to large data volumes, and typically not all model outputs are relevant to the research that's derived from the model experiment topic. So the focus of the Research Coordination Network is really to produce a product, namely a rubric, that will assist researchers in terms of what model output to preserve. The rubric is really focused on the question of assisting a researcher in determining what simulation outputs should be deposited in a Fairline community repository to communicate knowledge. Here's a brief example of what the rubric looks like. Really, the goal is for researchers to go through the rubric descriptors, determine based on the questions whether they should score to preserve less output or preserve more output. In the end, they have a composite score with guidance on what that score means. There are a number of themes that have come up in the rubric through discussions at the various workshops. And hopefully this list is fairly extensive. They range from community commitment, accessibility of data and simulation workflow, to cost of rerunning a simulation workflow versus the cost of preserving data in a repository. So when you put all these different descriptors together, hopefully you come up with a composite score and guidance on what should be preserved from your model simulation experiment project. In year one, a couple of workshops have been held virtually and included a number of participants specifically from the research community to get their perspective on what they feel needs to be preserved and provide input on what the rubric should look like. For next steps, we want to engage the community, specifically publishers, sponsors, and professional societies to see how this rubric can be used to support them as they continue to develop their data management expectations and guidelines. As part of this, we're going to have a town hall meeting at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting in January. Hopefully some of you can join us there, and we plan on soliciting feedback on the draft rubric in that town hall. We're going to have a breakout session at the Winter Earth Science Informatic Partners meeting to look at a similar topic. And we plan on having additional workshops in 2021 to further refine the rubric and explore other emerging themes that have come out of the project. So if you're interested in joining the mailing list for updates on RCN activities and for invitations to join future workshops, please contact me at my email address. And also, please view the project website to see the most recent versions of the rubric and other outputs that have been produced through the project. Thank you for your time and interest.